As a child from an alien planet and raised in a small prairie town, Rick Van Dyke moved to a bustling metropolis to seek his destiny. Armed with the amassed knowledge of movies, television, comic books, rock and roll, and bubblegum, Rick became a cartoonist, writer, movie maker, and now host of his own web show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rick Van Dyke Show.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, but I get the remakes going too far and being more graphic. And I think of like the second Halloween where he's killing the stripper and he's just smashing her head over and over and over, and you're just like, holy fuck.
That's probably because the public, the movie-going public wants that now. They want instant gratification. It's our society now. So if you got a movie, we don't want to see the slow burn. We don't want to see character build up. We don't want to see. We don't want to wait to see 3 deaths with barely any blood.
The processing speed of the newer generations is just getting faster and faster and faster, to the point of the whole like build up isn't there. It's also the instant gratification as well.
Well,
right?
but
They still make those movies, but you're never going to see them at the normal Cineplex down the street.
But I think it's also the desensitization, because you've been there, seen it, did it, done it. That now you almost have to go too far because there's...
And you have to, because it's begats, because kids...
to stand out.
Because if let's say we were all kids, we were born, let's say in 1999, or in the... we couldn't... Do you think we'd be watching these movies? Like you mentioned The Sentinel. Do you think any kids are going to watch that? Maybe a small percentage.
Nobody watching this show even knows
Nerd like I probably
exactly.
would.
Well, yeah, I mean...
I still watch silent movies.
Small percentage, very small percentage. Not enough for filmmakers or movie studios to produce these movies.
No, does anyone remember April Fool's Day?
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember the VCR cover of it.
Now the thing about that movie was...
Chick with the noose in her pigtail?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing, any movie when you're a kid at the VHS or the VC rental store, those are the movies that stick out. Maybe some comedies, maybe some action, but it's always the horrors.
That's why I rented Dead Alive.
Yeah, it's always the horrors.
That cover with
look
the mouth and the skull, you're like, holy fuck, I gotta watch this
Mom
movie.
and
Anyways, getting back to April Fool's Day. The thing about that movie that I thought was very clever at the time is because obviously Halloween set a precedent, and everybody was in a rush to make a quick buck on a slasher film because it was cheap and easy to make, and everybody was eating it up. So you had Friday the 13th, and you had all these other ones, which a lot of them became their own thing in itself. But originally it was meant as a ripoff of Halloween. Everybody was trying to cash in.
What came first, though? Friday the 13th or Halloween? What came first? Halloween came first?
But Halloween came after Black Christmas, which is considered an early slasher. You could go back. There's lots, but Psycho.
So it comes out, and I'm watching it, and spoiler alert once again, what year?
Guys.
I don't know, 1980, whatever. So the whole movie is like a slasher film. It follows all the tropes. It follows all the formula and everything. And at the very end of it, you find out it's all an April Fool's joke. Nobody's actually dead.
I remember that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it. And at first I was like going, oh, it's like every other film and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end I was like, that's really clever. Like, what a way to sort of put a twist on everything that's been out at that time. So
I think my favorite slasher, and lots of my horror friends will like, it's a classic, but it's William Lustig's Maniac.
Yep.
Maniac,
right? With the guy that is killing the women and scalping them, and he's putting them on the dolls.
Yeah, and the cover or the poster was you just see his feet and the hand with the head hanging
and the bloody axe. Yeah, like you wanted to rent that movie, and my video store actually didn't have it. So I didn't watch it until a few years ago. I picked it up on DVD, and it's brilliant. Like, it's a brilliant work of art. It is a slasher, but it's a character study of a diseased mind. And that's what it really is.
It's like Martin. Right?
And a more so. Yeah.
Martin's with the rats, right?
No, it's a vampire.
Martin's the vampire, whether he is a vampire or isn't a vampire. It's a George Romero movie.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, so like William Lustig did Maniac, he did Maniac Cop, he did Vigilante, he did a couple porno movies he wanted to admit to, and Maniac stars Joe Spinell, which is like this. He was Luca Brasi in Godfather. Joseph
really?
Pennell. This big, ugly,
Yeah.
ogre and man.
Yeah.
And it's great as him being the killer, and you know he's the killer, but he's just such a monster. Like, physically, he's a monster. Mentally, he's a monster. And he's moving through 70s New York society, and, like, he doesn't fit, and you can tell, and everybody's awkward around him, and he's just, like, weird, and he does this breathing when he starts thinking of, like, murdering people, and it's just so good. That's probably my favorite slasher right now. Favorites, I mean, I was always a Freddy guy. I love Freddy. It took me a long time to warm up to the Friday the 13th movies. I didn't get it when I saw it as a teenager. Watching them now, I get it, and they're great. But, yeah, the slasher genre, it's hard to lose. You know, every time I watch one from the golden age of slashers, the late 70s, early 80s, like, they're all really good. Like, The Burning is really good. Like,
The Burning, yeah, that's
so
the camp,
many.
right? That's the
Yeah, the camp one.
Is it the one where they had he puts the belt strap around that person's head?
Yeah.
Tight.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it's got a young Jason Alexander.
Really?
Who's George Costanza from
Yeah.
Seinfeld. But he's like the hot football jock.
Yeah.
It's so good just to see that. But
I forgot. I haven't seen that since we were in the
Yeah.
room, so it's gotta be.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Back
talk
to the
about. Let's
horrors.
talk about. I'm gonna name specific movies and get your take on them, because these are linchpins in the horror genre. You know, when they give a list of, say,
Hopefully
the
we've all
top
seen this.
100 horror movies or whatever all time. I know we've talked about Halloween, we've talked about Friday the 13th, but let's talk about, let's say, for example, you mentioned it, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Now, your opinion, based on whether you have any exposure to the original source material, the novel, or any of the post-adaptions, like the miniseries or whatnot, but or your first impression seeing it for the first time.
I never watched the full movie the whole time, the whole way
really?
through. No, I really have no say in that movie. I really don't. I hear it's a great movie.
It's a fantastic
no
movie.
big deal. Just The Shining.
I don't find it's a movie that I don't transcends. To me, that movie transcends genre because it's the director's Kubrick, right? Like it transcends Kubrick. Anything he does transcends the genre because it's at such a higher level of. With that said, no, honestly, it's just such a fantastically different movie.
When was the first time you saw it?
Don't know.
Oh.
I don't remember.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay.
I just remember watching it at various points, various times, various pieces, and it's a film that it's kind of like Aliens 2 transcends for me action films. It's an action film, but it's just
It's levels.
yeah, it's just a good film. It's not something I can watch all the time, but sure quoted a lot.
I honestly I can't remember the first time I saw it. Probably too young the first time to get it because it is a smart movie, and there's so many layers that I mean I could watch that movie every day for a month and pick new things up. It's a brilliant piece of filmmaking from a technical standpoint, which is Kubrick's insanity.
Yeah.
Making it technically perfect. Performances are crazy over the top. That's probably the best thing Shelley Duvall has ever done.
Not even olive oil and top.
No. And like Shelley Duvall was born to play olive oil. I'm just saying. Like, yeah. But now you got me all sidetracked.
Sorry.
Now the thing with that movie, there's so many things. One of the things I find intriguing is like Danny Torrance, the kid.
Red Brown.
He made that up in the it wasn't in the script or anything. He just did it in the audition, and they were like, "You're the kid." And like kid actors are typically shitty, right?
Yeah.
Even you go back to things like The Gate and stuff where it's kid protagonists, they're shitty, but he's just so believable. And then Jack, of course, is amazing in it. His like crazy manic energy and like flyaway everything, and like the crushing isolationism in that film, and like it just and the cavernousness and disorientating layout of the building. Like when he's riding the bike, there's no way that he can hit all these places. So you're like, is this real? Like, what's going on? And even still, like, I still don't know what the hell is going on in that movie. And I watched that insane documentary, Room 237.
Yeah.
And what that taught me was nothing about The Shining. It just taught me that I only watch movies. I don't overanalyze movies. Because I can take something as a piece of entertainment, like I did originally with the Shining. You know, I liked it. It was awesome, you know, as a teenager. But as you mature, and you hopefully get smarter as you get older, and you watch it more and more and more, there's so much going on, and I agree, it transcends. To me, it's not a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thriller, if it's to be labeled. It's a character journey through isolationism. It's a study of like mental breakdown. Like it's this weird metaphorical look at family dynamic. Like, it's so many things. It's a brilliant movie. Like nothing can be said about The Shining that hasn't already been said in 35 years. But it's a brilliant movie. I probably saw it honestly on TV back in the day
with the fogged out nudity.
Yeah, in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And the things that I like, you know, that I remembered were like, you know, the blood hallway and the creepy twins, and like I remember that stuff as a kid. But then as you get older and watch it, those aren't the things that you hold on to.
Right.
It's they're really subtle stuff, and I love the bartender sequence. I met him a couple years ago. He's a super cool dude. Yeah, and like, yeah, it's just neat to like, you know, shake hands with someone who was a part of something so important in cinema. Like, that's an important movie. That movie will last forever.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that's interesting about The Shining, of course, is the fact that it strays so far from the source material. Like, it gets the basic concept, but then it has its own tangent. It has its own Kubrick take. It becomes its own entity. And if you look at the original book and the miniseries, which is more faithful to it, it's nowhere near as effective as Kubrick's version. In the simple fact that, like you said, it's about family dynamics. It's about isolationism. It's about the breakdown of the human mind. Those
I gotta see this movie now. You know, like,
dude.
Well, I've read so much about it. It's just the opportunities have been there.
And it's funny because so many of the key moments, like you mentioned too, like the twins and stuff, has been overdone and ripped off so many times. That it's like people just if somebody say we're a teenager and they were to go back and watch it, they'd look at it and almost feel that it's cliche.
Yeah. Oh, this was better in Family Guy.
Yeah,
than Stewie's riding on the bike.
Yeah, or whatever. You know what I mean? Because it's like they weren't there to experience it when it.
Well, they don't know where the source material comes from. They don't know where
what
these people are taking from, right?
But they can appreciate it, but they'll never understand what it was like to watch it at the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, you can go back, man. Like, look at Maniac. Like, that movie's from the 70s. I obviously wasn't alive in the 70s. I never saw it through the video rental era. Only a couple years ago, because my friends kept talking about it. I mean, I knew the cover, and it's brilliant. And I think I appreciate it more watching it now than if I had seen it when I was 16. Yeah. I probably would never go back to it. I'd be like, oh yeah, it's that movie where that guy scalps those girls, and that's exactly how the remake is with Elijah Wood. It's very aggressive, it's very sexual, and it's very graphic, and they're so full of shit. I watched the special features after watching the movie. Another fine benefit of owning physical media, guys. You can watch special features.
Oh, that's one thing about DVDs. Yeah.
So they think that they do this Eye of the Killer thing in the Elijah Wood Maniac, which actually isn't really in the original, but it's like everything is through his eyes the whole way through. And they think they're just fucking brilliant because they've never seen a Dario Argento movie.
Yeah.
Or the opening of Halloween.
Or every movie ever. Like, it's not brilliant, and actually it's really irritating to go through a whole movie that way.
Okay. Vampire movies.
I just find Victorian... Okay.
Yeah, but vampire movies aren't necessarily Victorian.
They're all Victorian.
No, let me in.
Near Dark. I still like Near Dark.
Which is...
Lost Boys.
I like
Bill
Near
Baxter.
Dark. Yeah,
Lost.
But
I hated
not
Lost
Lost Boys.
Love
I didn't like Lost Boys.
I saw Lost Boys when I was 27. If I saw Lost Boys when I was 14, it would have been the
Different
best
story.
fucking
I remember
movie
babysitting.
The castle lights are growing dim. There's no one left but me and him. When next we meet on the Rick Van Dyke Show, don't come alone.